Lauren Yates from Rave Up here, and today we're going to be having a chat over Skype with the one and only Michelle Bridges. We're going to talk about the experience of being a trainer on The Biggest Loser, about her 12-week body transformation program, and about her new book. There is so much to cover, so let's get into it now. Michelle, welcome to Rave It Up. It is a pleasure to have you on the show today. How you going?
I'm really well. Thank you for having me. I'm always excited to speak to particularly a young audience about business, about careers, about dreams. And I'm interested to hear what your questions are, so I hope I can answer them successfully for you, but it's always nice to have a chat.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I know I've been wanting you on the show for a while, so it's a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time. Now, since this is your first time on the show, before we talk about, your book and your fitness program, I'd love to get to know you a little bit better and actually start from the beginning, if that's okay, to get a good idea of how you've made it to where you are today. So when I was doing my research for you, on you for this interview, there was a quote that I found really interesting on the internet, and I want to see if it's true, that when you were 14, you pitched an idea to your, school mistress to take the kids at school that weren't participating in sport and actually do fitness classes with them. Is that all correct? Because that sounds so entrepreneurial at 14.
It's actually true. When I was at school, I was very much heavily into sport, and I moved around at schools a fair bit. And, because of that, you're new to schools, especially if kids have been together for a long time since preschool, say. I was occasionally a target, new kid. So the way I found my way at school was through sport, and I really loved it, and I was pretty good at it. And it was my escape. It was the way that I was able to just, escape, when you're a teenager. So I fell in love with it desperately, but I also fell not only in love with the competition, I really enjoyed the training aspect, because I knew from a very young age what that was giving me was a sense of responsibility, a sense of accountability, a sense of discipline, regularity. It gave me a sense of being accountable. I learned the lessons of how to win. Big lesson, how to lose. These were all, I could feel it in my bones that these were big lessons that I was getting from my sport that would carry me through to my adult life. So when I went to my last high school, I was at 14 at the time. There was a lot of kids there that weren't participating in sport, and they was, sitting in a classroom pretending to do their homework while the teacher pretended to watch over them. And I just felt sad about that because I knew what my sport gave me. Yeah. So I thought there's some people, some kids, some adults find sport threatening, and they get anxiety about it. So I thought, well, maybe I could take them teach fitness to them in a way that would allow them to not feel like they're being competitive. Yeah. So I needed a set of leg warmers, and naturally I needed a cassette player with cassettes. If anybody even knows what they are.
I've still got a collection.
Importantly, I needed to get the green light. So I went to my school mistress and pitched this idea that I'd do this for them on sport days. And she said, okay. So that was where I started. And from there, I got what I thought was really good at it. So I marched myself down to the local squash courts, a squash centre, and the guy that ran it was working behind the counter, and I told him, hi, I'm Michelle Bridges. I go to Nelson Bay High. I'm 14 and I teach fitness classes, and I'm really good. And that's like air, and that empty squash court down the back there that's always empty, I can fill it with people. So he let me do it, and then that was me on the road to being a fitness instructor. Not trained at all, like a HR nightmare. Yeah. But you could do it then.
So did you ever think of it in like that it was going to be a career in the future, or did you also have like other careers in mind for when you finished school?
I just remember at that age laying in bed knowing, and I remember this distinctly because I would lay in bed looking at my roof and think, I'm going to be doing something. I want to be doing something. I feel like I'm going to be doing something that is talking to large numbers of people. Mm-hmm. And then I remember myself, hey, you know, it's going to be busy and it's going to be, you know, like a big job, and it's going to be my, you know, my passion. I didn't really know what it was, but I do recall thinking, gosh, you know, like if I was to get married and have children, how would I have time to make dinner with that? And then, hang on, I'm 14. I don't even know how to make dinner now. So, and I remember all these little conversations that I used to have with myself. I didn't know whether it would be my full-on career. Later on, I realized it was going to be, and I was going to push for that. But I was kind of building the foundations at such a young age. I didn't really know that that's kind of how it was going to roll.
Well, it's good that you started so young too, and you found such a love and passion for it. You know, I've had Rave It Up since I was 16, so I know how it is to start really young, and I wouldn't take anything back, because it really does, you know, have those foundations.
I think if there's a piece of advice I could give anybody, you know, don't muck around in your 20s.
Yeah.
Get busy, because if you muck around, and it's so easy to muck around in your 20s, right? And I know this is probably off topic, but when you're in your 20s, it's really easy because you're out of school, you might be in the back end of university, you got maybe a bit of money because you're doing a job, and you're going out and you're having fun, and that's great. But what happens, and I've seen it so many times with, you know, friends, children, or even people that I've done, you know, worked with, where the 20s gets taken up with all that fun, and then now they're in their 30s and they're trying to pick up the pieces from what they should have and probably could have done in their 20s. And then when they get to 40s, they're kind of still making catch up from where they could have done in their 30s, and it kind of has a big knock-on effect. So I'm a big believer, have your fun, knock yourself out, but get busy in your 20s. Get busy.
Yeah, well, if you choose a job that you love, then you're having fun along the way anyway.
Yeah.
Well, everyone remembers you as a trainer on The Biggest Loser, obviously. Big part of your life, and, you know, you left in 2016, but you've just blown up since then as well. You know, you've got your 12-week body transformation program now that I'm sure everybody's been seeing on buses and ads all over the place. You're celebrating 10 years of this program. Congratulations, I didn't even know it was running for that long. So we'd love to know, can you enlighten us on how much hard work is involved in putting together a whole 12-week program? You know, how long is the whole process?
Well, look, that's been a lifelong process, to be honest with you, because that foundations of that business I was building from, you know, a very, very young age, in my teens and into my 20s, the learnings and the understandings and appreciations that I had from working with clients one-on-one, doing the cold face, doing the groundwork, being like in the weeds and doing the hard yards. That is what allowed me to have the concept of the 12-week body transformation. And in fact, if I go back one step again, it was in my, I was about 35 when I wrote my first book, and that was called Crunch Time. Yeah, it's about then. It was back into the first season of Biggest Loser. I sat down. I didn't have a job because the season of Loser had finished, and I had to quit all of my work, all of my personal training work to do that role. So I had nothing. So I thought, I'm going to write a book. So I literally said no to parties, said no to going to the beach, said no to family events, said no to all sorts of special occasions, and just locked myself in my office. I even went on a holiday to Bali, and I sat in the cabin looking at the pool with my laptop just to knock out that book. Wow. And I got it set on 12 weeks. It was set on my philosophy, right, of just how I think that the best way to move forward and the lessons that you learn in 12 weeks. And that was just my personal opinion of the best way to really make a good, significant change. So that was the premise of the 12-week body transformation, which is, you know, why it's 12 weeks. Yeah. So it actually started with my book, and then it grew into an online. And when the concept of doing something online, because I was already emailing people that lived in different parts of the country to training programs and eating programs. So there's got to be something in this. And so 10 years ago, that's when, and it had been like even 12 years ago that the concept was born, but it took about 18 months for it to actually come to fruition. And it was sort of grown out of my lounge room. And I was on the computer answering people's questions. but it was for the premise of the book, and it just went boom. Nothing online had ever been done like it before. Like, we were the first to market, not just Australia, but we were the first to market internationally. Wow. Like, no one was doing it. You know, the market is flooded now. Every man and their laptop has some kind of fitness online program, but no one's been going as long as us. And when you think about in 10 years, we've got so much content, so many workouts, so many recipes, so many mindset lessons. It would take you at least 5 years to get through it all. Nobody has that kind of a bank of foundational content that we have the privilege to be able to dip into, and our clients and our customers have the privilege to be able to dip into as well.
Oh, you should be so proud. Go and celebrate. 10 years is a big milestone.
Yeah, just, you know, there's been many companies that have come into the market, and many of them have come and gone. And in any industry, in the online world, 10 years is like 100 years because it moves so damn fast. But in any industry, to make it 10 years, I think, is a real achievement. It's a real milestone because, you know, business is challenging.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And in March this year, you have actually released another book in line with the 12-week body transformation called Low Carb Solution, and it consists of 120 recipes. First of all, I don't even know how, like, you picked 120 recipes. I'm sure you have, like, thousands and thousands in the bank.
You know what? It wasn't me. It was predominantly my team, and predominantly my head dietitian, Lisa, who is a jet. She's been with the company now for several years, and she's very, very, very good at what she does. So everybody in the team really feels like that this book is theirs, and they should feel that way, because it is. So I can't take any credit. I think there might have been a few recipes that I said, we've got to have that one and we need to have that one. But I really wanted the team to take ownership, because that's kind of what they do. That's what they do every day. And I have an incredible team. They're very passionate. They know that we're doing something very special, and they know that we're helping people. And they're believers in that. So it's lovely to think that the recipes were predominantly selected by my team.
Yeah, it's great that you have that amazing network and your team just helping you out, make your life a little bit easier.
They do.
Because this is what, now your 17th book?
Yes, I think that's about
incredible. Like, I'm guessing it gets a lot easier and quicker to write a book now after 17.
It does. I have to admit it does. The first book, and probably a few after the first one, it would be just all me. Yep. You know, the whole time. And in fact, the first book, not only was I was in my office writing it word for word, but then I was then trying to shop it out to a publisher, and I got refused about, it would be maybe 7 or 8 publishers all said no. So I was one having to, get out there and, hawk my wares. Fitness has been done before, and besides, fitness in a book doesn't work. And I'm like, but you haven't seen the way I do it, and I know that it can work. And anyway, the first book was a bestseller, so, I had my pretty woman moment.
Yeah, they're kicking themselves now.
But yeah, and it does, the process does get a little bit easier, and especially now with, say, for example, the last one being the 12-week, that was content that we already had, so it was just a case of collating it and putting it together. We do have, though, in the latest book, some really great digestible, pardon the pun, content inside of it around carbohydrates, because it's called the low carb. Basically it's about low carbs, but the reasons why, and it talks to you in very layman's terms about carbohydrates, proteins and fats, so you just get a little bit of knowledge. And then there's a really nice chapter on gut health, which is fascinating, and I haven't made it dry or boring, but this is the kind of information that we should really have, and it's like literally 2 pages, that's it. But it just gives you a basic understanding around gut health. So we've kept those kinds of information tools in this book as well.
I'm so proud of you, and I'm so glad that something like that is out there and easy to read for people that don't understand that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of people just start glazing over once it gets too technical. I mean, that's me for one.
Yeah.
just give me the highlights, you know, so that I can at least understand. Okay, so that's really what you know, what we did with that book. But the recipes are easy. Like, I can't stand it if I see a long list of like 20 ingredients. It's like, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
Like, the stress lost me. So there's minimal ingredients, and you know, and it just talks to you about the various grams of carbohydrates in each of the meals. So if you're training hard or if you're not training hard, you know, it sort of gives you a guideline on the kinds of meals that you should be eating for whether you're training or not training.
Oh, good. You're making it easy, especially in this day and age. People seem to not have as much time to do all of that, so...
No, I think, do you reckon they might have more time now that we're kind of all in our homes?
I would hope so. So maybe if they get the book, they can just do all the recipes in the one go.
Where I am located, there ain't no Uber Eats, so I'm cooking every night. And, like, you know, in the past, I would admit that I don't cook every night. You know, who does? But currently, where I am at the moment, there is no Uber Eats, there's no takeaways, so I am cooking every night, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And it's heaps cheaper
and healthier too.
Heaps cheaper, heaps healthier. Everybody says, oh, it's too expensive to cook. That's actually baloney. What is expensive is if you buy all the groceries and you buy all the condiments and you buy everything, and then you cook one meal from it, and then you let it all go off and you go back to, you know, takeouts.
That's expensive. That's a waste of money.
Stick with it. It's a lot financially. You'd be better off.
Exactly. Everyone, listen to Michelle Bridges. She says it. And I've personally been a fan of your work, you know, ever since I first watched you on The Biggest Loser. And the one thing I always think is what doesn't this woman do? How does she have time for all this? You know, it seems like you do everything and you've got your fingers in all the pies. You know, you're on Dancing with the Stars last year and you've got your own products, kitchenware, activewear, books, DVDs. It's crazy. And you're also a public speaker. So why do you do so many things? Do you just like to live life to the best of your ability and learn heaps of stuff, or do you get a little bit bored quickly?
Probably a bit of all of it, actually. But I have a very strong work ethic. I always have, and I have a strong work ethic not because I'm some kind of like awesome worker. It's just because I do what I love. So when you're doing, like you said earlier, when you're doing something that you love, it actually doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. Trust me. Plenty of times I've been bitching and whinging about the fact that I've got to do this, and this, and that. But, you know, ultimately when you really love something, that it doesn't seem quite so challenging, or you don't have to sort of drag yourself out of bed every day to get busy on what you want to do. I have a great team, lots of support. But I'm always brainstorming ideas and what I can do. I would have to say probably in the last couple of years I have slowed down, especially since I've had Axel. I don't have the luxury of being able to go to the gym for 2 hours, or, you know, back when I was in my 20s and 30s, spend all my time purely on me. I've got now other responsibilities of businesses, staff, a child. So that has definitely changed things for me. But I never dip into anything that's not real. Like, you know, you would never see me selling bed sheets, for example. You'd never see me, you know, doing something like gardening. Like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with those things, but they're insincere, you know, and the general public wouldn't accept it either. It's only stuff that really, like, suits who I am and what I do. So to do fitness equipment and fitness clothing at Big W makes total sense. Like, I used to be an ambassador, a very proud ambassador for Nike for a couple of years, and then with Adidas for several years, and I loved it. But I parted ways with them very humbly and very graciously and gratefully, because it didn't sit in my heart. I didn't feel good about it. It's not that I didn't feel good about it. It didn't feel right that the bulk of the people that I was trying to reach were the majority of Australia. And the majority of Australia might have 2 or 3 kids, would definitely have a mortgage, and don't have the money to be able to afford expensive fitness clothing. So that's when I decided that I would pitch an idea to Big W and see if we could make, and I knew we could do it. I knew we could make beautiful technical clothing at a price point that was, you know, easier to handle, so to speak. So that's what I did, and like so that for me was a passion. That for me came from inside of me. It was and purely because this is what I was seeing, or the people that I was trying to reach. So it was a organic but totally true to me concept. So it was, and I've been very grateful that it's been successful. But I guess that's such an important lesson, that it's got to come from you. It's got to be real. And it's got to come from something that you see within the business, or within whatever it is that you're doing. You'll see something that doesn't quite feel right, and maybe you can find a solution to it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's good advice for everyone, actually. And I'm guessing you take a little bit of time every day to, you know, look after your own health and have a bit of family time, you know, with your son.
Of course. He's 4. Like, there's no way he's not going to have time with me. Like, you know, they're demanding it at 4.
Oh, yeah.
But I love that. And so, yes, it's a new chapter. As far as, you know, I'm now reading the chapter of Axel at 4 and going to preschool, and it's a beautiful time in my life. Like, I'm soaking it up. And I think that's really important as well, to know that in your span of your life, there will be chapters, and you will then move to the next one. And that's okay. It's okay to let that chapter go and move on to the next one, because the next one's going to be beautiful and exciting and new. I feel like sometimes people want to hang on to, you know, their 20s or their 30s, but it's time to move and grow and learn even more things.
Well, you're doing an amazing job at all different stages of your life. But I better let you go, because you are a busy woman, you've got heaps to do. But as a closing statement, and was probably the most important question, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 14-year-old self, Michelle?
Well, it would definitely be earlier about get busy, you know, get busy in your 20s. Even if it's not exactly what you love, just get busy with it, because you don't know what could springboard out of it. Never, ever, ever change who you are for someone else. Listen to your gut instinct, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable.
Ooh, I like that one. Haven't heard someone say that before. Thank you so much, Michelle. Everybody should go follow you online, your social medias, your website, go check out the book, and obviously the 12-week body transformation program. And I would love to have you on again in the future. Hopefully we can, I know that you have been ambassador for the Black Dog Institute, and I'd love to maybe one day talk about mental health and that arena of things as well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day, and big shout out to all your listeners.
Yeah, well, you know, you have my contact now, so you're welcome on any time. Just let me know. Hopefully we can do it in person next time.
You never know. Thank you. See ya. Have a great day.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's interview. If you'd like to check out any of our other interviews, visit our website, raveituptv.com. All of the podcasts and videos are there for you to enjoy. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!